long. All I had to do was be myself, and I couldn't lose. Stop crying. I'm not crying, you're crying. Now that we're best friends, a little bit about this book. My life is a recipe composed of extraordinary culinary encounters. No, I did not trek through Thailand to feast on tamarind-covered ants, and I did not backpack through Canada to roast a moose on its own antlers. Yes, I did just Google, where do moose live? But I did learn how to smear crushed garlic onto chicken with my dad and wield buttery rainbow chard with my mom. I have no idea what I learned in my second grade math class, but I will never forget how to shape crab cakes. This remarkable bridge between food and childhood inspires my original recipes and defines my playful spirit in the kitchen. Suspicious of anything that teetered into the world of formality, I chose to approach cooking in my own way. I absorbed every episode where my life intersected with food, and I allowed those moments to brand themselves onto my soul. As an adult, I found that when the familiar flavors reemerged, each mouthful would send me soaring backwards to a plate from the past. I would close my eyes and whisper, tastes like childhood. This phrase became the concept I would eventually send as part of I would eventually submit for Rachel's cookbook competition. Contestants were also asked to send three original recipes and an on-camera cooking demonstration. In my video, I shared a special story of an English muffin breakfast sandwich. In my family, this treasured dish was dubbed the tinfoil surprise, and I enhanced it with my Fanny flair by concocting a zesty jam featuring orange, lavender, and figs. The recipe opened the door that led me into the Great American Cookbook Competition. And since my great-grandma Fanny used to say, always go out the same door you came in, I would also select it as the deciding dish of the final round. So as you hold these words in your hands, flip to the cover and run your fingers over the title of this book. These are the 3 ingredients that forever changed the course of my life. Never underestimate the fortitude of the fruits of your labor. This cookbook is a celebration and reconnection of the stories, people, and ingredients that have guided me to this very page. It's a voyage through time, where I travel backward to the visceral memories of nourishment that have impacted my life. I then resurface in the present to unravel those edible moments, and I weave them back together into eclectic new dishes. There is a children's book called Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. In this fable, a donkey from Oatsdale finds a magical rock and is granted 3 wishes. As this was my favorite bedtime tale, other than Everyone Hoops, but that doesn't seem appropriate here, I'd like to tell you my 3 wishes for how this book will impact you. First, it will make you unexpectedly laugh out loud. Along with cinnamon, I have seasoned this cookbook with humor so that it's more than just a collection of recipes. It's like a lunch date with a good friend, the kind who somehow ends up with hummus on her elbow and orders 2 beers before noon. Second, it will grab a hold of you. Whether you grow your own microgreens or have no idea what a spatula looks like, I believe that each of you carries your own anthology of rich food memories in every shape and form. I hope that my stories will remind you of your own and inspire you to pave your individual path to honor those experiences. And third, this book will ignite your creativity in the kitchen. With simple techniques, whimsical ingredients, and an Epicurean touch, these recipes are meant to guide ideas from the imagination to the plate. I have created this cookbook because I am inspired by the delicious, nostalgic moments of my childhood. What inspires you? What will you create? If you knew that the secret to life was simply to be yourself, how would you change the world? You bought this book for one of 2 reasons. 1, you saw the words Rachel Ray and were so excited about making short ribs in under 30 minutes that you skipped up to the checkout line without noticing that she didn't write this cookbook. Or 2, you're a member of my family. No matter the reason, I hope you have as wildly exciting a time reading this cookbook as I had writing it. Cheers to childhood. So before, I guess you guys can go up and get books, and I'll sign them. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer those, or, questions can be directed at Phoebe. Or
Are you getting a TV contract?
That's a very good question. I will say that is the long-term goal, is a television show, for sure.
Food Network?
That's what I'm hoping for. There's Food Network, and then there's Cooking Channel as well. But there's a lot of other networks out there that also do cooking shows, and for me, I think it's going to just be about where I can find my place, what the network is looking for. Been very lucky to be connected. My mentor in Wilmington she used to run the Food Network, so she has been very instrumental in connecting me with people, and the history of the Food Network was really forever changed by her. And now, they're actually not doing so great right now, and so I think they're actually about to have a big shift, and I think that could be a great thing for me. They might be bringing in some younger talent, and I hope that I'm part of that roster, but I'm just going to keep doing my own thing until, Food Network comes knocking. Dad.
What impact did Britney Spears have on your cooking style?
Definitely everything that has to do with asparagus. Spears.
You're cute. Very cute. When did you know you wanted to be, or you? I know you said you were interested in cooking and you have a cooking family.
Sure.
When did you go to college to study food?
I really didn't, you know. I mean, I will say from the time that I was little, I remember being in the kitchen with my dad, standing at the stove, and you know, one of the reasons I think Rachel and I relate to each other so much is she loves talking about, you know, get your kids in the kitchen and really kind of show them what it's like to build their own dinner. And those are so many of my memories is when my dad would make dinner. You know, he would show me, okay, we're going to season the mashed potatoes, so I want you to be the one that puts in the salt and the dill and the sour cream, and you taste it as you go, and you'll figure that out. So those things really stuck with me. And then my mom, you know, is the one who really influenced all of the wholesome and the nourishing and the kale and the chard and all the wonderful ingredients like that. And I never even would have gone towards that style of cooking had she not, you know, been so passionate about it and shared it with me. And I found that it wasn't just healthy, but it was delicious, and it made me feel good inside and out. So I was influenced by them growing up, but I will say the moment that I think I knew I wanted to do this is the very, very first catering job that I ever had when I was actually in California. It was a very informal thing. I was working in an office. They knew I cooked. They were doing a big event, and they said, all right, well, why don't we have you make the dinner or make the lunch for everybody the next day. And I thought, all right, that sounds great. I had no idea what I was doing. It was, you know, I didn't do any of the planning like I would now. I didn't go grocery shopping till 7 o'clock at night. I was up till 4 in the morning making homemade tzatziki. There's like, you know, herbs flying all around my kitchen. It was just an absolute, it was chaos. But I did it. I completed everything on time, you know, 2 hours of sleep. I drove the food to the event. I set it all up. And I remember as everyone started coming into the room, I just held my breath as all these people sat down to eat, because I realized that it was the first time in my whole life that I had ever cooked for a room full of people that were not my family. And so to see strangers take a bite of my food for the first time was nerve-wracking, but the moment that I saw everyone kind of collectively go and smile and look around at each other, I thought, wow, this feeling that I have right now, this is what I want to do.
So do you plan on taking a culinary class? I mean, or do you just kind of wing it?
Winging it has been pretty fun so far. I think what I'd like to do is, for the things that I feel that maybe I missed out on as far as very basic techniques go, those are things I'd love to go to a local cooking class, or maybe work with a culinary school and sit in on a few classes. But you know, I've kind of enjoyed building my repertoire my own way. And I think that there's so many opportunities out there and so many different ways you can learn how to do things without actually having to go through the formal training. So I have such respect for culinary school, but for me it just didn't seem like the right path. So I don't see myself ever going, but certainly maybe taking some classes to kind of hone in on some of those skills for sure.
And can I ask, what was the grand prize for winning the Straight Shoulders contest?
The grand prize was it was a culinary trip to Mexico. There was a few parts of it. So it was a culinary themed trip to Mexico, which my boyfriend and I took for, I think it was 4 days, something like that, which was really fun. I won a lot of Rachel's cookware. And the big grand prize was a cookbook contract under Rachel Ray Books. So Simon & Schuster is the publisher, and then the imprint under them is called Atria, and then Rachel Ray Books is Rachel's specific imprint. So I'm the third author as part of Rachel Ray Books. And this is, you know, for a first-time author, I'm so lucky to have these opportunities, because it's really difficult to get your name out there, but I was, you know, promised an opportunity to be on her show again to promote the book, which I was just on last week, and an opportunity to be in her magazine. So it came with a lot of great promotional support. But you know, the whole cookbook was really up to me, so I had to kind of drive that myself.
So be honest, do you ever order a pizza?
All the time. All the time.
I make her ramen noodles once a week.
Yeah. That's what's funny about my cooking too, is I have such an appreciation for all different types of food. The type of food that I like to make is the type of food that I grew up with. So it's very, very much based on everything from scratch. Fresh herbs, fresh citrus, color and flavor, a technique of how you sear something and then finish it in the oven. That's how I like to cook. But I mean, there's sometimes like when we'll come home on a Friday night and I'm like, Tony, throw a Hot Pocket in. That's what I'm in the mood for right now. So I have no, I'm not a pretentious eater by any means. We definitely like to eat a variety of different things. And I wrote a cookbook, but I'll admit I call my dad once a week and say, Dad, how do I boil an egg?
When you came back from California, what were you doing before all this? You were in the catering business?
I started to do catering, yeah.
On your own?
I'm sorry?
On your own?
On my own, yeah. Just a very small catering business, just me. And I really wanted to find a way to share my food with people, but that wasn't as big of a commitment as a restaurant because I didn't want to have a space. The business end of it is not something I'm really interested in. It's loud, it's a lot of screaming, it's a lot of long hours. I thought I want to do this in my own way. And with catering, I can set my own menus, I can be my own boss, I can make the food as creative as I want, I can make up my own events to do. And so that's what I was doing in Wilmington for probably about a year or so. I had a couple of odd jobs and then started doing catering full time. Got very lucky. I was able to cater 2 movies that were both in the North Carolina area. Did a lot of cooking classes, and right around the time that I really started to become kind of well known as a local caterer, all of this happened, and everything has just sort of snowballed ever since. So I still every now and then I have my first the friend of mine who first gave me an opportunity with catering to cater some meals for his mom and to cater a dinner at their house. I still do some things for them just because I love the idea of the people who helped me grow my business in the beginning, who were just friends, who said, all right, Fanny, we'll give you a shot, who now, all these years later have continued to support me. I'm so happy to still do those things for them because they were, the people who helped me grow my business and believed in me when no one knew who I was, so.
Can you tell them about how you, when you left your marketing job, why you left and what your boss said to you?
Oh, yeah. So I've had a lot of odd jobs. I always wanted to try to be around food, but that wasn't always a possibility. So I've had some of the most bizarre jobs. I mean, I've been everything. I've been a chiropractor's assistant. I was a personal assistant for one day. I worked in retail. I've worked in restaurants. I've just done a million different things. So when I moved to Wilmington, I was like, all right, well, I gotta get another job doing something to make a little money on the side. And so this job opened up, and it was financial advisors, and they needed a marketing associate. So I thought, well, my uncle's in the financial world and my dad's in the marketing world, I could probably BS my way through this. So I got the job, and I worked there for a couple of months, and I was able to have some creativity, but all I wanted was to be doing food and to be starting the catering company and to be sharing that with people. So I was trying so hard to do it on the side. And I think that it was just, it kept pushing itself into this job I had because, I'm supposed to be there working on their website, and instead I'm like typing up menus, like looking over my shoulder. I'm in meetings, and I'm the note taker, and I swear I'm like listening to everything they're saying, and I look down and I've written like seared scallops with lemon beurre blanc. Like, food was just, it was trying to just come out in any way that it could. And I think that my boss sort of saw that all over me, and he was great. He supported that I wanted to eventually have a food business and that I would try to do that on the side. But he calls me into his office after I've been working there for a few months, and he said, Fanny, it's not that I don't think you're doing a great job here. I think you're very creative, but as someone who followed their passion to do what they want, he was just the most passionate person I had ever met, other than my Uncle Mitch, about being in the financial world, and was just an excellent advisor, and he was so passionate about that. He got to wake up and do it every day. So he said to me, as someone who lives their dream every day and works their job, that's their passion, I think that you should be out there in the world living your passion as well and doing that full time for your job. So I really think that you should get out there, start your catering company. I feel like we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. That's what he said. And I thought in that moment I could either use my acting skills and try to convince him that I was like the best marketing associate there ever was, or I could agree with him and I could go out there into the world and I could say, let's do this food thing for real. Let's do it full time. And so I said, you know what? I think you're right. And as I went to walk out of his office that day, just as the door was closing behind me, his name was Jason. Jason popped the door back open and put his head out, and he said, hey, Fanny, call us when you're the next Rachel Ray. He was one of the first to reach out to me when all of this came about. He said, I don't know if you remember, that wonderful day that we said goodbye to each other, but this is what I said to you when you left, and looks like it's starting to come true.